Summer Solstice, Litha, or midsummer. It's the high time of summer and the beginning of the dark half of the year. This is a Sabbath to be enjoyed. Happy summer solstice, magical people. It's that time of the year. It is the summer solstice, midsummer, Litha, whatever you call it. And it's a time to celebrate because we are at the effulgence of the sun, the high point of the sun. Everything is in full swing here on the farm. I don't know what it's like where you're living, but here on the farm, we get to finally relax just a little bit. The hardest part of the year is over. We don't row crop. I'm here in my orchard where I'm checking out the fruit and seeing how everything's doing, and I can just kind of let things go. What's it like where you are? Are you scrambling? Now I can just get into my personal garden and really enjoy things. Today I want to talk to you about this Sabbath and making it your own, really creating something that feels like you, that matches who you are, where you live, the lifestyle that you're living, the time of life that you're living. I really want to encourage you to get into making your witchery really natural. So I'm going to share with you some green witchery, some traditions that I have around here, what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to share a divination, of course, and then at the end I'm going to share my journey with the sun. It's been a rough journey. So if you're somebody who has struggled with the sun and too much sunlight, like you're more a dark half of the year type of person, you might relate to my journey. However, this is really about me coming into a new, fresh love for the sun, like a renaissance, even actually a return to my childhood self. And I'm going to share with you at the very end if you're interested in that. But for now, let's jump into these ideas for celebrating Litha in ways that hopefully you can make your own. And I can't say it enough. If your witchery is not natural, if it's contrived, if it's something that's just really hard, it's not flowing from who you are and where we live and the times that we live in. And it's really important, I think, for each one of us to dig deep and be brave and grab hold of a witchery that suits our lifestyle. So here we go. One of the most important aspects of natural witchery, I think, is really developing your own wheel of the year. We have these celebrations and these ideas about these celebrations that we've pulled from times long ago, but unless we make them personal and really tie them to the land that we live on and the time that we're living in our own lifestyle, then I don't think it has the type of meaning that it really can for us. And I think the more each one of us relaxes into our own life and the magic of that, I think that each Sabbath can become so incredibly personal and meaningful. Solstice on the farm here is really about, it's really about cats in your face. Solstice on the farm here, for me, when I get to this point in the year, it kind of grows to a crescendo and it's almost like a bubble popping, and then I can exhale. And so this week is like the pinnacle of rising energies. And for me, that's when green witchery really comes in, like green witchcraft, green crafting, herbal crafting. And so this week I'm going to want to harness some of the solar energies of the different herbs and gather them. All week long, I'll be gathering chamomile and drying it so that I can have it for tea during the cold winter months. I'll be gathering my marigolds. This is a flower that I use in magical spells to boost them when I need solar energy, like especially for money or abundance workings. I love working with marigolds, and they're easy to grow in my garden. So I will harvest them all week and honestly all the way through fall and dry them so that I have them on hand in my cabinet. The farm has an abundance of roses, and they remind me of my mother and her magic, but they've been a part of my life. And I think that rose is such a wonderful energy to be harnessing. So all week long, I will be harvesting rose petals and drying them to replenish my stores. I have these ones left over, and so I think while my granddaughter is here, I'm gonna find something to do with last year's rose petals that I have left over, and maybe we'll make some sachets or something like that. That seems kind of fun. She's only 3, so stuffing a bag seems like something that she can do, and a fun way to make a summer memory with her. I think it's important to look around, see what's growing for you. What kind of herbs are you connected to during this time of year? What grows around you? If you're in northern climates, you may not have sunflowers yet. That's maybe not something that you're thinking about. What grows in your area that you associate with this time of year? Take that in, collect it, or honor it during this time. I think that's a great way, and I'd love to know down below what are the types of herbs that you gather during this time of year and what flowers you associate with summer. For me, every Sabbath is a chance to connect with nature. For me to tap in and remind myself, slow down, take note. Where am I on the wheel? What's going on with my land? How is it different than last year? Here on the farm, during Litha, you know, I really want to connect with that peak energy. I want to really enjoy it, and I really want to understand what it's looking like in the woods. So one of the things I will do is I will wake up with the dawn and I will go for a walk at sunrise in the woods around here, and I'll probably come back and jump in my hot tub, and this will be before anybody's up. I've got my grandkids visiting at that time, so it'll be like the quiet time, the calm before the storm. You know, but finding out what's going on in your neighborhood, in your area, wherever you're at, I think it's really important for each one of us to dive in and really accept where we are, where we're living, and the times that we're living in. And so what does that look like for you? Is there, you know, is there a tree in your neighborhood? Is there, you know, a flower bed on your walk to that coffee shop in the city that you take? What's going on in the world right around you? I think it's really important. Get up, listen to the types of birds that are where you live. Understand the trees and how they're changing, the flowers. Even if what you have around you is cultivated neighborhoods, still taking note of the subtle changes in the landscape really connect you not only to nature, but to your body. And I feel like that's something that's really important for us if we're gonna channel our magic, is being able to be present with ourselves at nature. So at this peak time of the year, what's going on in your neighborhood? What do you do to connect with nature? I also gain a lot of personal wisdom and insight by watching the cycles of plants, and this brings me to reflections, like reflecting on the solstice. Again, at summer solstice or at any Sabbath, it's a checkpoint for me, a time to really check in and look at my life and see what's going on. As I walk through my new greenhouse garden, I just retook this greenhouse this year with the intent of having a garden that transitions into a year-round herb garden. I want to take a look at, you know, how are those plants doing? Which plants have I planted that took? Which plants have I planted that are struggling and need a little bit of help? What needs pruning? What is going to bear fruit in the fall? And what didn't make it? And this is a reflection of my own life. As I reflect, I really need to look at what I'm sowing and reaping within my own life, and, you know, how I can be really honest with myself. And so Sabbaths or Sabbath times like this week, it's a great time to stop and really reflect on where you are in your life without judgment. I think that's a big thing. A lot of times when we think about reflecting, we might think about it as taking stock, and then sometimes we can get really judgy on ourselves, like we haven't arrived at a certain point or we wish we were somewhere else. But again, it's about being present, really taking stock in a way that is about the pluses in the column. And even when I find things on the farm that didn't make it, that I hoped would, or maybe I was limping along and just didn't make it, there's okay, I need to recognize that has to go. And so there's some of that during this time of the year. And I find about this time of the year. I'm on the farm in particular. I'm going to know what is going to make it, what isn't, things like trees that haven't been producing fruit for years. Those are not trees I want to keep because I have to feed them, I have to water them, I have to weed them. Those are not things that I want to maintain. And it's the same in my life. What's not bearing fruit? So reflecting, maybe you want to reflect in your journal and, mark it down. Maybe you just want to do it in meditation, whatever's right for you. I'm going to do a lot of that as I walk and stroll, and I will try to sit down and journal those things as well. What's a Sabbath without a feast, right? So got to be feasting. I'm lucky enough that I'm going to have family visiting at this time, and I'm really excited to be feasting. And one of the things I want to do is get up after my walk and all that and take my granddaughter strawberry picking, because right now in Oregon, this is like peak strawberry season. And I think, come on, what kid doesn't love picking strawberries? They do more eating than they do like picking. But I want to pick strawberries and come back and make some kind of like honey strawberry cake. Honey's really very typical, very traditional for the summer solstice. So I want to make a honey strawberry cake that we'll eat that night, and I will take and give a piece of that cake to the fairies in the woods, and I'll take my granddaughter to do that. Super fun. These are things you can do with your kids to introduce them to the idea of magic and how they can tap into it. And it makes it doubly special for me and powerful, because children, they don't have these ideas that magic doesn't exist. They totally are in sync with the beauty and majesty of this incredible world we live in. So it'll be great to take her with me. Our feast will consist of locally grown fruits and vegetables. I don't know what is growing in your area at this time. Again, like if you're way down south, you may be getting something different than you do way up north. But by, eating foods that are available to us at our local farmers market, I stay connected to the seasons and what's available right now. So we'll feast on that, and I will take some of that feast and I will leave an offering of that as well for my ancestors. On my ancestral altar, particularly thinking of my mother, who I'm really missing this year a lot, but just inviting my ancestors in during this time. Solstices, any Sabbats, but I find solstices are between times, and they can really be liminal times where we can feel our ancestors right there. So, leaving an offering for them as a part of, giving my heart of this farm, of the land and the season on Litha for the summer solstice, for those who have come before me and given me the wisdom that I carry in my body right now, and just the beauty and their love that has carried forward is really important to me. And I think taking some time to honor those things that we value during this solstice in particular is really important. It's a time of abundance. It's a time of effulgence. And so gratitude is huge. So, I'm kind of curious, what is something this year, the light half of the year, because it's about to pass away, are you grateful for? Let me know down below. Something maybe different, or something that surprised you that you are grateful for that has happened in the last 6 months. Of course, I'm going to do some divination on that day. You know me, I'm going to break out the cards and do some divination. I do have a summer solstice reading. You can watch that reading on my other channel. It will be up on Saturday. So I think this is going out on Wednesday or Thursday. So in a couple days, it'll be up on my other channel. There'll be a link down below in the description box. But I do have a free PDF printable of this reading, this summer solstice reading. And you can get that right now. It's in my free learning library, and there's a link down below in the description box. I want to say this, a lot of times we have these great ideas like, oh, I'm going to do a reading on the solstice. Now there's a chance that I'm going to be so busy with a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old and my son-in-law and my daughter and my husband that it just can't happen. It can't happen on that day. And that's okay. If you can't do a reading like on the solstice, you can still do a solstice reading. This reading in particular, it is really talking about the light half of the year, and then that transition. The top cards are all about the light half of the year that we are finishing up, that peak. And then It's about the doorway into the dark half of the year that we're entering into. But if I can't do it on that day, it's okay. You guys, don't overthink it. Not everything has to be so much pomp and circumstance, you know. It can be what is in the flow for you. And I think that's really important. It's just honor where you are in your life, honor who you are, honor what your life allows, love who you are, love the life you have, make the most out of it. Let it be a joy to do your reading or your divination or whatever it is that you want to do for this time. Maybe it can't be on the day. That's okay. It's okay. It's just really that you take time to check in and honor this time of the year and what's going on with you and what's meaningful for you personally. Hey there, if you made it this far in the video, I'm going to ask you, please leave me 3 suns down below in the comment area down there. And I just want to share with you now that those are my ideas for celebrating this time of the year and what I do. You know, I'm harvesting herbs. I'm, using this solar energy. I'm working on the farm. I mean, this is a farm. The idea of slow living on the farm, it's not really slow around here. Although after this, it's just about weeding. It's really about weeding and then harvesting. So it's not as crazy as it is in spring. But I do want to share personally with you just a little bit about my journey with the sun. And I know that some of you out there are like me and you struggle with the sun. And so I, this year, started on a new path and a new working within myself with the sun. And I just want to share that with you. And hopefully it will help some of you who struggle with the sun, or if you're just interested in hearing about my personal magical journey with the sun itself. So when I was younger, I loved summer. I was like, summer's my favorite time of year. And my best friend, her favorite time of the year was fall. And she really struggled with the summer energy, the whoosh energy. And I really couldn't understand it. I was just such a go-go person and very fiery and outgoing, and I loved it. And then I had my kids, and it really started to shift. And then I became a person where the solar energy was too much. And for me, what happened is I had some trauma. I figured it out this year. Like, why did I switch from being a bright half of the year person to a dark half of the year person? And the dark half of the year, which we're entering into as soon as we hit that solstice, summer solstice mark, the dark half of the year is about going internal. And so I'm like, what happened to me that really did that to me? And I had some trauma that happened. I'm just going to be really honest. I'm not trying to offend anyone out there. This is my personal story, but I had some trauma that occurred to me when I was in church. And I went into church for about 10 years and tried to make a home there, and it didn't work. And I got a lot of wounding from men and women in the church who honestly are well-meaning people, but they were living under such strict dogmatic ideas. And I was such a free spirit. And really what they wanted to do was kind of get me to fit in that box. And so unknowingly, they really tried to crush my spirit in a lot of ways. And so there was a lot of trauma that occurred. And so I really went inside, and the sun and the brightness and the lightness was just too much for me. It was too much for me. I couldn't handle it. And so just this year, I felt as though there was a shift that was happening, and there were several magical moments that occurred that let me know that this was happening. It was a beautiful time where I realized that the sun card was coming up for me all the time. I never get the sun card in the tarot, you guys, never. That is not my card. It's so rare that I get that card. You know what I mean? Like, how many of you out there read and it's just like there's certain cards that you just never get? That's one of them. It started coming up for me, and I started getting all of these messages at different Sabbats about the sun. And I started to have these flickers it was sort of a revelatory place where I was realizing my youthful self, and I would have these flashbacks to my youthful self, and then I would have this fear that would come in, like, oh, that doesn't work for me. And it took me a lot of inner work and healing to kind of release another layer of this trauma and to allow myself to go back into trusting the creative energy of myself before I was in the church. And that's when I was, hardcore pagan at that point. And I continued to be pagan while I was in church, and that's why it didn't work. And I gave it my darndest. I mean, let me tell you, from a chaos magic perspective, I completely immersed myself in church. I love Jesus. I think Jesus is great. I have a great relationship with Jesus. However, that is not a fit for me. That is not where I belong. I'm an animist. By just my heart and soul, I'm an animist. And anyway, I'm digressing. My point is, I really gave it a go, and I needed to be able to go back to this time within my youth that was this sunny time, this time of this, like it is right now, this effulgence of it's warm and pleasant, and you can take a nap in the shade, and there's just so much abundance and joy and enthusiasm. And so this year, as the sun began to, wax more and more, and here in the Pacific Northwest, I think the sun is setting around 9:30 at night right now. So it's a lot of light. Comes up around 5 and sets at like 9:30. So there's a lot of light here. And in past years, it would become to where I almost got depressed at about this time. There was just so much sun and heat, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And this is the first year. I've struggled a little bit. Honestly, as it's started to get hot. I've never done well with hot. But I have overcome my trauma to where I can go back and I can grab hold of some of the magic that I had as a younger person, the joy and the fearlessness that I had for life, the zeal and the zest. And so it has become a journey into the sun. And I think this is probably the first year of my life in probably 20 years, 20 years that I have not really struggled with the sunshine. And it has become a joy to be a part of this time of the year, to be a part of the growing of the light. This time of the year, there's so much energy. It is just coming to a peak. It's all around. It's really intense. It's about how it feels for the full moon for me. I'm not a full moon person. It's really hard for me on the full moon. I really struggle. I'm just kind of silent on the full moon. But I've really made peace with it, and it's been a beautiful journey, and it has opened up fresh magics for me because I'm so willing to interact with the part of me that really believes in life on a level that I haven't believed in for a long time. And it has opened me up to create new magics here, new types of spell working, and really to delve into letting myself just be who I want to be in this crazy, rewilded sort of way. And that's kind of been a theme for me this last year or so, is I'm really rewilding myself. So I thought I would just share this with you. I don't know if anyone else out there struggles with the sunshine, or maybe it's the opposite for you. And it might be interesting for you to look at if there's some kind of trauma in your life that was somehow linked. Now, let me just say this. Like, I could have never figured that out. It was a lot of things falling in line, a lot of readings I did, a lot of meditations, where I just figured out, like, wow, there's some really big wounding that came in during a key time in my life, and it cut off that sunny part of myself, that childlike part of myself that was linked to the sun energy. And if you look at the sun card in the early Rider-Waite-Smith, it's a baby on the horse. It actually, in the Marseille, it has two babies. They're twins. They're both sides of the self. They're the divine feminine and divine masculine in consort. So everything's like perfectly balanced. But yeah, coming back into that, I believe I believe in magic. I believe in fairies. I do. Anyway, I hope that you have an amazing solstice, that you make your magic your own every day, that you find ways to tap into who you are in powerful, profound ways, and free yourself into a magic that comes from the heart of who you are, the life you're living, and the place in which you are residing. Merry meet and merry part.